and welcome to the happiest place you have never seen. My name is Ebube, and you are listening to Popcorn for Dinner. We have a big assignment on our hands today because we are discussing something you may have heard of. Maybe you think you don't know anything about it. Maybe you do. Maybe it's all just in your head. But it's going to be Pluribus, and it's going to be glorious because this is the first thing Vince Gilligan has released since completing the Breaking Bad universe. We're very excited for this, and we have a lot to think about because the show has clearly a lot of influences. It's got a lot of directions it's coming from, and honestly, it's a little confusing, but the kind of confusing that we like. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a preview of the show. We're going to be going over everything that has been released about it, everything that we know, everything that we may have been misdirected on. And I guess those kinds of journeys are fun. So I'm not going to do it alone. I have Cris here with me. And, well, I think she handles confusion a little bit better than I do. Cris, can you confirm or deny this?
Yeah, I handle confusion very well. I never know what's going on in life. But I'm happy to be here, excited for the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for being back. I'm sure you guys will remember Cris from a bunch of things we've done in the past, including all of her incredible takes on hacks. But yeah, Pluribus is going to be a little bit of a sci-fi journey, a little bit of a departure from what Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul were. We've been told, of course, that there isn't going to be any crime, any meth. Though, I mean, I feel like the jury is still out on things like that. I don't know what to believe anymore. But I do know somebody who does, because we have the illustrious Pete Peppers here with us today as well. And he honestly has a little bit of insight as to what the teasers might mean, what the trailer might have in store for us, what the show itself could basically be down the road. And, well, I think he has more answers than questions, hopefully. Or maybe he's in the line of confusion with us. Either way,
yeah,
hi, Pete.
I
How
don't
you
know
doing?
about that. I do know that they have chosen a very interesting way to market the show. They're leaning into the mystery, and I think that's something, that's a chance that not everyone can take, and I think it's fun that they're in a position where they can do that because, frankly, we're going to watch it anyways, whether we know what it's about or not. And we'll get a chance to engage with it on that level. I mean, I thought this was pretty cool. And I especially, whenever it first kicked off, we sort of had this countdown timer, and like the whole world was waiting and watching it count down for like 3 days. And then all of a sudden it's a 30-second teaser that really doesn't explain anything, So, that was fun. It was definitely cool. After the months went on, I started to get a little anxious though. So I'm ready to see it now. Like like I get it. It's a cool bit. We're here for it, but like I really want to actually see the show and find out what's going on, what they got cooking now.
I think they can feel that from people too, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the text messages were a really cool aspect of the marketing campaign. For those that don't know, you could call this number that was in the teasers, and they've been sending messages to Carol, who is the main character. So you're sort of on the receiving end as if you were the protagonist. But you could kind of garner some little clues from there. Like there was an audio message that said we had a great fondness for old holidays, referring to Labor Day. So you can already get this sense that this is some dystopian world where we don't have
Where the
old
good times
holidays
are in
for
the
some
past.
reason. Yeah. So that's a really interesting thing. And like you're saying, Pete, something that other shows can't lean into the mystery like that to do a marketing campaign with the text messages.
Yeah, I think, one of the things that was really surprising to me when Better Call Saul first came out was just how, they how just much they leaned into just developing the characters and letting scenes breathe, and they weren't in a hurry, and that struck me in the same way. It was just sort of like, well, if this was a brand new show from people you never heard of, like, they wouldn't be able to take that chance to do something that they knew that would pay off because people would stick around long enough for them to tell their story or whatever. So that reminds me a lot of that kind of situation, and I think the payoff will be hopefully equally as enjoyable.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
I think
love
it's interesting
storyteller
too.
confidence. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, no problem. I was going to say it's interesting, too. I think there's sort of a split between the super fans who are taking the text messages, the teasers, reading the articles, watching the trailers, because I do think there's a decent amount you can garner from that, even if you don't
Oh
have all the
yeah.
answers. And then there's sort of the group that has only seen the trailers because they're not as, they're not digging for information. They're not as invested. They're more just going to watch whatever comes to them. And so I think just from the trailers, people are a lot more confused or don't even really know the log line about the most miserable person on earth saves the world from happiness. So if they don't even know that, then the trailers are even more confusing because you don't have the extra context
Yeah.
that the rest of us have been feverishly gathering.
Yeah, and we're gonna find out. Speaking of being a little bit too online, please, by the way, we have been covering Slow Horses Gen V. We have a bunch of things coming up on the Is This Cinema side of things. There's been a lot going on this podcast since we came back from our summer break. And by the way, once Pluribus does start, we will have our thoughts on the premiere immediately. The episode drops on Apple TV Plus. We're going to aim to release all the weekly episodes as early as possible. But if anything comes up, we will let you guys know if we're not going to be able to bring it out right after the episode comes out. So definitely follow us on Instagram and Twitter, which I hear is now called X, and subscribe to us on YouTube, rate and review us on Spotify. It helps, and it's going to keep you updated on exactly what we are doing. And as things come up and as the show is starting, if you have any questions, definitely comment on YouTube and Spotify, and email us at popcornfordinnerpod@gmail.com. So reach out to us on our socials. There's a lot to discuss regarding this show, and I think one useful place to start is Vince Gilligan himself. I feel like he was probably a bit scared that a show like this might not work. So not that it might not work in itself, but that it would be a bit of a departure from what he's done before and what people know him for. So I think even when you have the level of, track record and gravitas that someone like him has, like, this is one of the most respected TV writers in the world, you still kind of wonder, like, is this going to land the way I want it to land? And I feel like because of that, this was a bit of a leap of faith for him, since it wasn't another Breaking Bad story. And I think he wants people to know that right out of the gate, as we said, right? I think there are people who might see Rhea Seehorn and think, oh, this is the Kim Wexler spinoff now. Like, what is she up to? And it's like, no, this is
When's
not
the
that.
Kim reveal?
Exactly. Like, this is not anything to do with that. But Rhea Seehorn obviously is amazing. I'm pretty sure all three of us are people who would watch just about anything she shows up in. They
Absolutely.
basically had us at Rhea Seehorn. So I think Vince Gilligan wants people to actually go in as blind as possible. But yeah, I guess, what kinds of questions have you guys been seeing people asking online, if any at all? I mean, I know there's quite a bit of discussion, but I've been wondering what actually has people, quote unquote, confused or intrigued the most.
Well, one thing is, like, why happiness, like, obviously there's something that makes everyone happy. So why is
Mm-hmm.
that a bad thing necessarily? I guess is, what I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of discussions about that in the comments of my videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
too, just sort of the mechanics of what that means. I guess in my head, I was like, is this like global Stepford Wives? Everyone's kind of
Global Stepford Wives is
yeah.
amazing.
That was my first impression. And then is there someone controlling that? Because that could be the bad part, right? Is if someone's taking advantage, or is this some sort of government thing? I don't know. There's so many questions from that premise and just how the rules of the world will work ultimately.
Yeah, so much can really come out of it. And I think we like when you think about the teasers, it's not even necessarily apparent that it has anything to do with happiness. So many of them are just like out of context.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And of course, Pete, you've done a couple of videos about the show already, talking about what they've been putting out. And I definitely agree with a lot of the stuff you said, especially in the initial one about that's was kind of just rounding up information, right? Because I feel like that's what everybody was trying to do, just to
Yeah.
make sense of things. That date announcement video was really something, because I mean that's the definition of context, no context. It's just like, okay, what am I looking at here?
Yeah.
Like, after you've heard the name Rhea Seehorn, you've heard the name Vince Gilligan, you see a person who, is definitely not either of those people, licking donuts and waiting for people to come get them. And I'm just like, okay, that's interesting. Like, what are we doing with this? That was just really wild. And I
Yeah.
feel like I feel like with that in mind, it either brings up the intrigue or kind of, I don't know that it would necessarily turn anybody away, but I think it will definitely make people ask more questions.
Yeah,
It,
certainly. I mean, I had some ideas, based on things that people talking online and different things. I had some ideas of what to expect. And that sort of did fit into the conversation that was going on at the time. So in a way, it it sort of was a nod towards what, some people had already been theorizing about. I think, like, whenever I was thinking about this, earlier, what I've always enjoyed about, when I think about Vince Gilligan stuff, and I've covered quite a bit of it and have been, he's up there as one of my favorites, and I've really kind of dug
Hmm.
into both of his, most popular shows, I guess. And what always, like, when you really look at it, like, there's so many different things that work well, but when you really look at it, for me, what I'm looking forward to is the way he finds balance. Like, his shows, like, have great dramatic bits. They have, really heavy stuff, but then there's also just the right amount of levity, to kind of take the edge off. And there's just so, like, they're very cinematic, but
Hmm.
they're not like overbearing in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that he does well in his, and not just him as as an individual, but like in the collaborative process with his, the people he's been working with. A lot of those are involved with the production of Pluribus as well. There's so many things that there's such a great balance that he strikes. And, that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is the way that he's able to do that. The one thing that I kind of worry about, I guess, going in, and I've been kind of thinking about going in, is that the reason that he can do that, or the reason that his team can do that, is because of the way that they develop characters and the way that the characters are just rich. Like, even the small characters in both shows are have so much going on, you know what I mean? And they're super memorable right away. And the one thing that I'm kind of worried about is that this has a feeling that it's Carol versus the world, like Carol
Yeah.
by herself versus everyone else. And so in her isolation, that kind of takes away one of their major, tools that they have, that they use so effectively in the past. So I don't know if you guys have thought about that, but that's the one thing that seems a little tricky to me. Like, we know he can do sci-fi because we've seen his X-Files episodes, and that's where he got his start. So that's the one thing that I'm sort of like, man, if you had one person that you would give that job to try to do it by herself, Rhea Seehorn's a great candidate, but I do wonder a little bit how they're going to be able to pull that off.
Yeah, I think it'll be an excellent acting showcase for Rhea because of the fact that everybody else will be presumably under whatever influence this virus is. But yeah, I did think about that as well. Like, who are the other people that we're getting invested in? And then who is she really acting off of if she doesn't have a confidant? Like, if everyone's against her, who is she telling her feelings to? I mean, presumably you have someone like Rhea Seehorn because she's going to have to communicate a lot to us just through her micro expressions that she's not going to be able to say out loud. But yeah, that could be tough that you don't have a partner in crime to
because you have Walt and Jesse, you have Kim and Jimmy, you have Chuck and Jimmy, you have like all these like
these pairings.
One-to-one kind of relationships, and I just don't really know how that's going to work in the world of Pluribus.
I mean, I think it's possible that she'll have some kind of ally. Maybe she's going to find somebody that is some kind of kindred spirit. Maybe it's possible that, she realizes that there's somebody in control that she can communicate with, that she can kind of bargain with. It's left to be seen, right? But there's so much that could come out of it, because with someone like her who is so good at what I can only describe as excellent face acting. It's like you can see the stress on her face. You can see the absolute just like deadpan disinterest in some of the shots in the trailer. And honestly, speaking of that trailer, it is a roller coaster. Like, there's just so much happening. Like, if you thought you had an idea of what the tone of this show might be just from the teasers, I feel like you're not sure anymore.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, how did the trailer make you guys feel after you had seen those teasers? Because now it's almost like the game has expanded. It's like the game has been revealed, but not really, type of thing.
Yeah. It was tonally different than I thought it was going to be. I think sometimes you think sci-fi is going to be a little more serious, but it was very funny, absurd, colorful, kind of surreal. And I just gave you that old school sci-fi vibe. And they released the poster that same day too, and it's like the painted poster that kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, 60s kind of old sci-fi films. So I like that influence, and obviously Vince came from like X-Files, so kind of has that vibe maybe, but like I said, very very distinct, more comedic than I thought, which is good. I like funny things.
Funny absurd things.
The music really hit for me because it was just like I realized how quiet and devoid of even dialogue the previous teasers were. So seeing the whole thing, it really started to feel like it was a complete package, not little bits of mystery that were being doled out to us one by one, like breadcrumbs on a trail to follow or something like that.
Yeah. One thing we know now for sure is that the happiness, or at least one thing I'm feeling now, is that the happiness is either some kind of imposition, like it's something where everybody is forced or being put under duress to be happy, or it's just straight up like brainwashing. Maybe it's like some kind of disease. I don't know. Kind of reminds me of stuff like Smile Fruits in One Piece, or even the Infinite Tsukuyomi. It's almost like everybody's under some kind of trance. And, this idea that it forces this absence of sadness, I think is very interesting, because then you wonder, right, who is right? We have this protagonist who is clearly her against the world. And if the whole world is happy, what is the issue with that? I think that's kind of the main question that people kind of have going in. Like, I was talking to my brother about this show, and I told him check out the trailer, and he's like, okay. Like, his exact words were, okay, this is intriguing. I feel like I don't know more than I did before, but I'm
Yeah.
very interested. And then then he looks me right in the face and is like, but if everybody's happy, what's the problem? And I'm like, well, I don't know. That's what we're going to find out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. One thought I had with the trailer was when they showed some people drinking and it looked like a very classy upscale place, and then that got me thinking about class a bit. And
Mm-hmm.
is everyone, I don't know, again, like maybe my mind is just going to government control for whatever reason, but is it a way to keep people like happy with their lot in life? How does, like, what happens to like economics and income and politics if everyone's happy? Like, does it change the world, or is it that you're happy with where you are in life? I don't know. I have no idea.
They probably don't have
Yeah,
tariffs.
it's sort of a pacification, right? It's like if you think about it like that. And I thought that the exchange she has with Will from For All Mankind,
Great to
the
see him, by
the
the way.
yeah, when she's talking to him, she's just like, "Can I have a grenade, a bazooka, a
Ugh.
tank?" And he's just like, "Yes, of course, anything you want. We're here to serve." Like basically, you can kind of see in that exchange where being happy and being compliant at any, with no bounds, like where that could lead to some problems. But like I think you alluded to earlier, like, is someone in charge? Is someone making this happen? Like, if everybody's on equal footing, then what is the problem? Kind of, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
it's just it. I don't know how much sci-fi you guys read. I read quite a bit, and that's generally the trope with the hive mind is like everything is ostensibly better, but you lose your individuality, and that's something that's really hard for us to, mm, you know, come to terms with as human beings. It's like the only thing that we're sure that we have is our individuality. So, to give that up,
Mhm.
that's the question, right? What are you willing to give up to be happy all the time?
It
Hmm.
is cool that you mentioned hive minds because that's actually a very interesting take. Because on one level, this could be that everyone is happy individually, right? But
Mhm.
then it's like, what if everybody is actually just sharing the same, you know, almost delusionally blissful mind? That would be kind of an interesting direction for them to go as well. I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool
Yeah,
actually.
that's been a popular theory that's been around, and I thought the use of the collective we, we hear that in the trailer quite a bit, is a strong indication that might be the case. But I mean, that's something that there's a lot of variety, especially in those kinds of stories where different things. But I think it generally mostly it will come down to free will, right? Did you choose to be happy all the time? Like even if it's that, if you're just forcibly changed in this way, then that's a place where people, you know, when you lose your autonomy, that's where people generally start to have philosophical, debates about like what's right and what's wrong, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that idea of
exactly.
consent you said too, like, did
Yeah.
you choose to be that way? And then did the ends justify the means if you didn't agree to what happened? Um, but I think the shot in the trailer of that sort of like invasion of the body snatchers shot, which they've said is a direct like homage or influence, definitely kind of fits
Yeah.
with the hive mind theme. Because that was another thing where I was like, oh, I didn't really expect them to be more like drones almost, the way they were kind of all marching almost in unison, in
Yeah.
that shot, so that kinda changes things a bit.
Yeah, I think those were the two. Now that we're thinking about all the different stuff. Like I think, yeah, the conversation with Robert Bailey Jr. and the way that everyone was walking in lockstep. I thought those were really kind of eerie interactions. And then you just think like if you were the only person, right? Like if all of this is happening around you and you're just Carol, like what the, like she sort of has that moment, like, why do you want to change me? And the guy who looks like the president or whatever is standing at the White House. He says, so we can fix you, so you can join us.
So you can
it's all
join
good.
us is insane. It's like,
like
is
that does
this
not
annoying
sound
or is this
good if you're-
terrifying?
That does not sound good if you're in your, in your living room talking to someone through the TV or whatever's going on there. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, will she ever go outside again? We will have to find out. I probably
don't think
wouldn't.
I would want to.
Yeah, why would I? It's insane.
Yeah, it seems scary.
Yeah, and I guess, kind of going back to this idea of her, and by her I mean Rhea herself. I believe Vince wrote this part for her because I think he had this thing where, everybody that I've had as a lead in my shows has been, male so far. And I think he kind of had this kinship with her from when they were working on Better Call Saul. And I think it's also a little bit of a desire for departure on his part from what the world kind of expects. I think right now, a lot of the protagonists in TV are people who are kind of just like, unassuming guy does really bad things and somehow we're supposed to root for him. I feel like Breaking Bad kind of comes from that era.
It kind of defined that.
It kind of defined it, right?
Mad Men was going on at the same time, but yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And then a lot of the shows
I guess
that were happening
both
at
followed
that time,
in the footsteps of Sopranos, but still, you know what I mean? Like that was
boom.
I think they were all like, kind of at the same time. Just that was the mood, that was obviously people were ready for at that time.
The idea of the tortured anti-hero, so to speak. And, we did see a few of these people in like you said, in a bunch of shows, Sopranos, Mad Men, Breaking Bad, then Better Call Saul, even in stuff like, Game of Thrones, there were people who kind of fit that description to an extent. So I feel like
Lannister threw a child out of a window in the first
episode. From episode 1.
He was a fan favorite throughout the whole series.
Literally, it was interesting watching people go from what kind of monster is this man to I will follow him anywhere. Like people literally just like changing their whole demeanor. That's the beauty of good writing, right? So I think, we can expect that level of storytelling here. We can expect that level of connection with Carol because I think Vince has kind of described her in the sense of being a departure from that particular line or breed of protagonist. It's like this is somebody who could be a real hero, somebody who is trying to essentially, I guess, defend the honor of humanity, for lack of a better term, as opposed to these other guys who are kind of out for themselves and they have reasons, but they may not necessarily be going about it in a way that's, conventionally morally okay. And we kind of have to figure out how to navigate that. So I'm very interested to see how Carol, the character, kind of comes into her own in figuring out what this world is, what she wants to do about it, if she can get any help, if there's anyone to negotiate with. It's really an open playing field. There's so many places that we could go with it. And, I do also like the fact that the show is really inviting people to participate. I know they had a pop-up as well, where people could actually, go and get whatever it is they were serving there. I'm low-key...
Doughnuts.
Doughnuts, yeah.
Yeah, in my head, I'm just like, after seeing that teaser, it's like, do you want to eat those donuts? I mean, I guess you do.
Yeah.
But
pre-licked.
That's another thing I saw people talking about was the food. And I was talking to my friend Jim the other day. We did a call and he was talking about the food. And it's just like little things like that. Like, people are showing up at your door with all this food, but you don't want to take it. Like that's the feeling you get from watching the trailer, right? Is that she has that great looking breakfast, that's
I keep
right
thinking
there,
about
and
that
she just
breakfast,
tosses it into the garbage can.
That was a
Yeah,
good
then
looking
another she's
breakfast.
like
I can't
tossing
lie.
out the water as well.
Yeah, it's like, how do
Yeah.
you live in a world where you can't even trust something like that?
That's true.
Yeah.
She only has like a couple weeks left of food in her house, and then you gotta go venture out, and someone has to
Or
make
she's
you
a
food. You have
person
to go to
that
the
has
grocery market.
everything delivered in, like, whenever in the Better Call Saul universe, her and Jimmy had a lot of takeout in their life. So
Yeah,
she,
every night.
she might be the same kind of character.
Yeah, except those characters were very busy, and she decidedly has absolutely nothing left to do.
Well,
So
that's what it looks like for sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, that's
'cause-
interesting. I didn't think about that. Like her livelihood, right? She's a writer, and now
yeah,
I don't know. Do
'cause we've
people
been
in this
told
world want to read her books, or do
exactly
they? I don't know.
because
It's hard to.
because we've been told that she's a novelist, right? And
Mhm.
I keep thinking about the fact that if everybody is completely bent on making her quote unquote join them, she has no work to go to, nobody to kind of like write books for, as you just said, Chris. Nobody to help her out, nobody to actually interact with in a way that she feels she has intellectual equals. It's kind of just a weird space. So
Yeah, I
I'm
think one
wondering
of
what she will do.
I don't think it was like an official teaser on YouTube, but I saw a clip of her. She's like just hitting golf balls into like breaking windows. She's like in
Yeah.
a
Mhm.
I feel like that gave me the sense that that's a lot like what her days are filled with after whatever happened. I mean, I'm not spoilering here, but I mean, like they've been pretty upfront about saying that in most of the articles about the show, something major happens at the beginning to change things, right? So,
Mhm.
apparently she sits around and hits golf balls into office buildings and busts out the windows to pass time,
Yeah.
or that's the sense you
Yeah.
get.
Yeah, in the teasers, the world looks very empty, and yeah, that was another thing. Like they had a
Yeah.
shot of a
Where are all
grocery
the people?
store, and no one's in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, sure, everyone's happy, but are they all inside? Where did they go? Um, and then yeah, I think that there comes that freedom if there's like less people around to just start screwing around and do things like hit golf balls into windows.
Yeah, I
And
thought
you
that
know what
was
it kind of
funny too,
reminds me
how
of?
she's driving a police car around all the time.
Oh
and
yes, there's that.
Right.
It's like,
There is
yeah,
that.
I guess if you have a choice, your choice of cars, that's a fine one to choose. If you,
Yeah.
it's got
Yep.
it's got
Good
it's got a
stuff.
little power. It's some utility to it too, I guess. If you need to pop on the lights anytime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can kind of get through
Not that
anything.
traffic's probably that big of a deal,
Yeah.
maybe, but
She was
It
in
actually
Vegas
reminds me
too
of
in that trailer.
yeah, she was. She was in
Mhm.
Vegas.
Mm.
West was it West? Yeah,
That's
that
Westgate.
the
that
famous
used to
hotel,
be
Westgate
the
Hotel. Yeah,
that used to be the Palm, or is it called which one? It's the one that Elvis used to live in under
right.
its old name.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Westgate, I think now, but it was the Las Vegas Palm Hilton, I think.
Yeah.
It's been a
I
while
believe
since.
that's the one. And like, there's this message that says, welcome, Carol. And it's like, okay, why is it that everywhere she goes, there's like they're doing everything they can to not just get her attention, but to keep it and to convince her. And that's just an interesting thing to explore.
Do you have a favorite teaser?
Oh,
I mean, because I think that one was my favorite when it first came out, because that was just so out there, like that the whole the welcome message on the board just for her, like that just got the wheels spinning in my head or the gears going in my head for some reason. Did you
that
guys have a
one
favorite one?
was good. Yeah.
I don't know if my favorite, but I was intrigued by the airplane trailer or teaser, which was a different character, not Carol, who's like covered in dirt,
Yep.
flying this plane, and there's just a lot of questions there, right? Like, why is she covered in
Yeah.
dirt? Why does she look like she's escaping somewhere?
And she's so
Because I think there's a
happy.
couple. I
And
don't know. She looks kind of miserable though. She's
How does
like,
she
No,
know
I-
how to
I-
fly a plane?
I felt like there was a bit of a kind of like content look on her face as she was flying this plane, and it's just like, this is not who you'd expect to see flying a plane, but She knew exactly what to
Yeah.
do. She was very comfortable with it. And I agree with you. That is a teaser that really drew my attention. I liked it a lot. I think another one I liked that kind of made me get a sense at least of what might be going on is I think there's one with like phones where like
Yeah.
there's some phones in like in like a drawer, and like there's one that's ringing and then you can hear it buzzing. You can see that Carol's ignoring it, and then she drops in another phone in there because they're calling multiple phones now. And
I didn't see that one.
yeah, I think I saw one where like they were like she was just basically trying to not be reached, and I thought that
Mhm.
was a little funny. I think Sorry About the Blood was also
Yeah.
was also
Oh, yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And I really want to
What
know
happened there?
what exactly what that situation was. This idea that the world is empty, it actually reminds me a little bit of Adrian Veidt from Watchmen. Well,
Mm.
Watchmen, the 2019 series, and where he was and what he was doing.
Mm.
I feel like I shouldn't say too much about it because people should actually go watch that show. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that kind of it reminds me of that. Like the golf balls thing reminds me of that. So
Mm.
so yeah, because it's like, how do you pass the time when all you have is time? You know, passing the time usually is just like you're going towards something, you're waiting for something. But yeah, in this case, it's like it looks like they're like time is essentially not of the essence. So
Mhm.
so yeah, we'll have to see. Um, I think another kind of pseudo teaser fan participation thing that I feel that I liked, that I think is worth shouting out is, you know, Vince Gilligan coming out and talking about, you know, the phone number, right? Um, and we kind of alluded to that earlier because people really can dial that, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
who and you can also record a video. I think they have some prompts that people can say, and then they can send them in. And I wonder if that's something that, you know, they're going to put in the show somehow, or it's going to, you know, people's voices will get in there, maybe their faces. I don't know. It could be interesting to see how they use that, or if it's mainly just marketing to get people buzzed.
I
Probably
think
a
that
social teaser, maybe. Like maybe the day the premiere
Yeah,
drops, they drop something on, Instagram, Twitter,
yeah,
with everybody's little videos compiled together.
that would make
the
sense.
the telephone the real telephone numbers is a thing that they've done multiple times across this both of the in the Breaking Bad universe. Like they'll have a telephone number on screen and then you would call it, and it's just one voicemail or something like that. I think that like they'll have like an ad for a fake in-world company or something like that, and then if you call the number you actually get a message that's that they made. So yeah, that's one of those things like where I was like, yeah, that there's so many things I would like to see, like I've been missing, like the montages and the cold opens, like the totally disconnected, seemingly disconnected cold open that you don't
Hmm.
really know it when it's going to come back up, like what it's about or whatever.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Ugh.
Honestly, there's so much to get into. This is probably a good place to call it.
Yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to where this actually takes us, because this is shaping up to be something very unique, and I think it's always nice when we get something like that. Um,
Mhm.
and this is kind of what you'd expect from someone like Vince Gilligan, especially when the last thing he brought ended up being one of the more unique things in TV at the time, and you know, really still is. Might be a bit of pressure on him, but I mean, I feel like he's confident. Like, it's the fact that they can do all these teasers and then wait so long to bring out the trailer and not want to tell anybody anything. And it just says, you know, from the creator of Breaking Bad, it's like they're clearly very confident in his
Mhm.
vision
Yeah.
and what he wants to
Yeah.
do. So I think that kind of signals to the audience that they should be too. And that is a great thing. So yeah, it's going to be nice. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, just Vince Gilligan, Rhea Seehorn, sci-fi, Apple TV. You don't have to say much
All
more to
good
me.
things.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in.
All good things.
And yeah, please check out Pete's coverage as well. Pete, like we said, has made 2 videos already about the show. And there's a lot of information there that's definitely going to get you prepared for everything that's going to be coming.
Yeah, and I'll be doing weekly recaps, and we're also going to be doing live streams in between episodes, and hopefully you guys will be on and on some of those. That'll be, Sunday nights. So I'll have my regular video out like I always do after the episode drops, and then Sunday night stream, and then maybe other stuff. It depends. I hope that, I'm really looking forward to this. Like there's been a couple of things that have really stood out over the last few years. The last season of Better Call Saul, the first season of Severance. This feels like it's in that has that same kind of potential, where it could really take off. I think what we were talking about earlier about people not really knowing what to expect could pay off in a big way if it connects, and let's hope it does, because we're definitely going to be around talking about it. So let's hope it gives us something good to dig into.
Yeah, I think this has to be probably Apple's biggest numbers for a first season show. I've never seen any new show they've released get, however, I don't know, tens of millions of views, whatever the YouTube numbers were. They were really large, and I don't think they have any new show that can come out and get numbers like that. So I think they have, someone great with Vince Gilligan, and that'll kind of bring in a big audience to Apple, right out of the gate, which will be interesting.
Yeah, they keep upping the ante. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate you coming on. This has been insightful. I'm a little less confused now, but we'll see. Once the show actually comes out.
It won't be long now. We're getting close finally.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be back here once the episode comes out. But yeah, we'll see how things go. But thank you so much for listening. Definitely check out all of our other coverage, Gen V, Slow Horses, Everything Is the Cinema is doing, and check out what Pete is doing on his channel. Until next time, stay happy.